Hi everyone, Dr. Samantha Cotrera here for the Imagining a New We video blog. I am just doing a series of short videos for the next 2 weeks introducing different activities and assignments that you can do in your classroom to bring in the ideas of digital pedagogy to teaching and learning history. And while the instructor's guide that I'm drawing this from was written primarily for college and university instructors, these activities and assignments will work great for middle school and high school students as well. And just to be clear, you don't need to know a lot of fancy tools and technologies to engage in digital humanities. It's just being more thoughtful in what we have available in terms of digital tools and technologies, but also historical digital objects that we can now do analysis through and with, that makes the digital humanities more than just like using these tools as a means to an end. Like, digital humanities allows us to be like the end. So this is a series of 3 to 5 minute short videos introducing these activity guides, but you can check out the ebook without my narration to see how they can work in your classroom as well. Let me know if you use them. I can't wait. I'm particularly excited, and today we're going to be talking about digital archive. So a digital archive, when I wrote this 2 years ago, seemed like way kind of too big for a middle school or a high school student to engage in this. I think because of COVID, we're now seeing ways that we can archive and record things differently. Especially, that's something that came up a lot in the pandemic pedagogy conversations. And so I am going to introduce this, even though I may not have a couple years ago. But before I begin with that, I do just want to highlight that all of these assignments are available in the Doing Digital Humanities and Social Science in Your Classroom ebook that's available on the York University Library. There's stuff about theory, practice, and then the 9 different assignment and activity guides. So a digital archive is we'll get this down here. There we go. The collection, organization, digitization, description, and publication of a group of items. Now, before I started working with archives, I just thought it was like a big place to put things. But the archive is a creation. It's a piece of work that needs thoughtfulness and documentation to argue for its existence. So, like, why? Think of all the photographs you have on your phone. Do they all need to be a part of the public record? What would be created to show the archive of your life? So creating a digital archive as an assignment helps students think about the configuration of materials, not just as these standalone objects, but this series of decisions that said that these materials, these were pieces of a record that went well together, and there are other pieces that didn't. So while this is a very familiar thing for humanities, you can also think about geography, anthropology, political science, other social sciences, and social studies that can be this kind of integrated conversation between you and your students. So you can use something like WordPress. These tools are designed for creating online archives. So I guess just think too, if you're putting all the work into create a digital archive, you probably want it to be accessed somewhere. So think about accessibility and what would work for the intended audience. So you want to identify a collection, you need to digitize them, organize them, assign metadata and descriptions to them, and then publish them as well. So it would be really great to go back and look at the metadata description as a way to do this work. The elements of this work is not difficult, but it is a large assignment. So organizing and managing the whole thing may be difficult. So again, you should recognize this work is an analytical assignment because the students need to understand that the archive is a product that is created, just like an essay is created. For undergraduates, these are articles that might be useful if you are a high school teacher, or a middle school teacher too. You might want to read them yourselves to introduce some of these ideas to your students. Definitely make sure you're connecting with local librarians and archivists to see if there are ways that you can collaborate on this work. This might seem daunting, and I feel like I'm certainly saying it in a way that sounds like daunting, but it's really a series of creative and analytical decisions about the ways materials are organized and accessed, that it can be a really creative, stimulating project for your students. So Wendy created a digital archive and talked about the process. This was her creation. This was her, what's the word I'm looking for? This was her visualization of her process. And she talks about this process on this online exhibit. So you can really follow her lead in developing that. This was the first assignment guide that was written, and so I have a lot of like step 1, step 2, step 3, so that you can really break down what you're doing with your students. And remember that it is not only the experience, but the reflection of the experience that will be really great for your students. And I found that this one, especially in comparison with the other ones, really need that kind of breakdown step. So it's not a lesson plan, but it is closer to a lesson plan than the others. So some archive suggestions: you can work with a library, work with a community group, work with a community group to create a particular personal archive within it. Get your students to create their own archive, maybe during COVID, or archive of their family. These are some interesting articles from the Smithsonian, as well as from the BBC and the Financial Times, which was so funny, as a way to get started. I also just want to remind you that, like, you know, when you're asking students to archive their life, they might not be fully comfortable and their family might not be fully comfortable. So always have a couple options to both do them themselves, but also something that might be less personally connected to them, because they might want something that their family history might be triggering in ways that you don't know, and they might not be interested in sharing. So just make sure there's some options for students as well. So let me know if you do create digital archives this term. I'd love to see what you created.